Economies. This becomes every Monday through Friday live 5 and Evil Thing Network. Rumble X YouTube. Check us out. Subscribe. Of course, we'll join the Mighty Men 1490 AM at the bottom of the hour as we usually do Monday through Friday. Of course, we should have Kelly Victory on. We'll get into the inconvenient study, how we've screwed our kids. And that's just a terrible one. But judge resigns after urinating or maybe even crapping out in public. Cops buster, Arizona judge. It's quite a story. Here's the Fox 10 report. We thought.
What are we doing?
Uber.
This is disgusting. Minimum, you're getting a ticket.
I
Nope, right here on the screen. On the screen.
She was.
What are we doing?
She was stumbling down drunk, allegedly, it looks like. And she probably would have got off with this, except her husband started going and started interfering with the cops. I think he went to jail too. But you come out of there drunk in a skunk while you're urinating in that. At a minimum, if she'd have just been cool, she'd have probably got a ticket. Nobody had, nobody would, public urination or whatever. Now that her husband made a big fit about it, and she probably tried to pull the judge card, she resigned her office. And man, what a price to pay for that. There you go. Drunk judge caught with her pants down, peeing in public. Cops, hallway interfering husband. My, oh my, what tangled web we weave. We'll get into this when Dr. Kelly comes in a little bit later on. But we have really did our kids a disservice with these vaccines. Dale Roundtree, or Bigtree, I don't want to say Roundtree, Dale Bigtree, he was a producer for CBS News, quit because of all the crap going on. He really got into the vaccines. He had a documentary 10 years ago about vax. He was going with this. He's worked with Robert Kennedy, Peter McCullough, and many others. This here is one part unbelievable in the documentary, An Inconvenient Study. Here's a short preview of it. Here we go.
Hold on, I just want to say this. This is the Galileo moment. I believe this changes more lives than anything there is. If we can fix this vaccine program, it doesn't just change millions of children's lives here in America, it changes worldwide. You'll be the father of the change in the system. That's historic. And I want to work with you to do that. This is why we're here.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
We have an ability to do something that no one ever dreamed is possible. If it's not you, then who?
For some reason, they always Cameron has always comes towards me. So I can't handle it. I really can't. No, I'm not a good person. I can't handle it. I'm not a good person, but I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna replicate it.
Because I've got other stuff to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, really emotional. He's just going to compartmentalize it away. I think someone could look at this and be like, it's unconscionable. How could he? And I think the way that he can is like the way we all can do things that, like not do things we don't want to do is we just convince ourselves, he's saying like, it doesn't matter. This is one study. It will.
This is absolutely incredible, this story. The study came out, inconvenient study. It basically said, and it was done by a pro-vaxxer, that they've been basically lying through their teeth for decades, basically for profit and their jobs and everything else. And we have let this stuff go. 1000% unconscionable. We'll get more into that when Dr. Kelly comes in. Mexican mayor shot and killed at a festival after demanding tougher crackdown on cartels. So if you want to bring Mexico to the United States, you think their socialistic, communistic, cartel, China-run government and everything they do down in Mexico is just great. We should bring in more illegals up here so we can make the USA Mexico. You are out of your freaking mind. I don't know any other way to say it. We'll hit this here in a minute. But Brooke Rollins, the agriculture secretary, said as the Trump administration is trying to get the SNAP benefits funded, we have had unmercifully a whole ton exponential of welfare fraud across the board, including SNAP benefits. And most of them, the growth in it in the last 5 years is what? Illegal aliens. Welfare fraud up the kazoo in California. This comes on the heels of a CBS News poll, which they didn't highlight on Face the Nation. 52% of all Americans still feel deport all illegal aliens, a majority of Americans. And that's up 4% from the last month. A majority of Americans say deport all illegal immigrants, illegal aliens. The Trumpster, and this is why he's such a successful guy and a successful politician. He was on 60 Minutes, and they asked him about Mandami. Here's his response.
34-year-old Democratic socialist. He's the front runner.
Communist, not socialist, communist.
Some-
He's far worse than a socialist.
Some people have compared him to a left-wing version of you, charismatic, breaking the old rules. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I'm a much better looking person than him, right?
I'm a much better looking person than him, right? What a way to turn the tables. This is why Trump is so brilliant. What a way to turn the tables on, oh, well, Mandami's like you, a left-wing version of you. Well, I'm better looking than Mandami, don't you think? What makes Trump great. And the success he is, especially in the politics world. This is Lion Latinx Gavin Newsom. And we'll probably get more into this tomorrow. This is absolutely crazy.
In my office has ever used the word Latinx. I'm
So,
like,
so can we
what the
finally
hell?
put that to bed?
Yeah,
We agree?
but where did that even?
No more
I'm like,
Latinx, everybody.
Well, I just didn't even know where it came from. I'm like, what are people talking about? Impactful this has been on the Latinx community. Latinx community politicians that are banning not assault rifles, but the word Latinx. Nothing I dislike more than the politician that sits there and lies to you. And we all just sit there rolling our eyes going,
Nothing more than the politician that sits there and lies to you. How in the world could we face anything as sinister as this guy? It's incredibly incredulous of what this cat does. But here we are. Power grab, we'll get into the Prop 50. Make sure you vote no, no, no. LA Times did a great article on those in the Inland Empire of doing that. We'll have this and much, much more on today's show. Yes, we will. I want to get into that. Mark Barack. He's been on the LA Times editorial board for a very long time, as they say. And he penned this article about Prop 50 and the power grab, mainly about the Inland Empire, which was kind of unusual, as they say. When it comes to Prop 50, Marcia Owens is a bit fuzzy in the details. She knows vaguely it has something to do with how California draws boundaries in the 52 districts, a convoluted, arcane process that's not exactly top of her mind on the average person, but Owens is abundantly clear when it comes to her intent on Tuesday's election. I'm voting to take power out of Trump's hands and put it back in the hands of the people. Owens, a vocational nurse in Riverside, he's making a lot of illogical decisions, and he's really wreaking havoc in our country. He's not putting our interests first, making sure that the individual has food on the table, can pay their rent, electric bills, and health care, and on and on. Peter Arnsberger, a fellow Democrat who also lives in Riverside, a 55-year-old college professor, he's trying to rule as a dictator. Republicans are doing nothing to absolutely stop him. So here you go. You get the women nurse, you get the college professor. This is the coalition. 1,000%. That has, and they used to be more center-right Republican, college-educated, good jobs. Nursing's are well-paying jobs, even though they probably won't tell you they are. Now they're the biggest ones with Trump derangement syndrome. And Newsom knew that, and that's why he's playing that. He's playing onto the fears. He's playing to the fears of those in the lower income communities. And he's stoking the idiocracy that's become of the college educated crowd. It's just Gavin Newsom playing political games to the 39-year-old warehouse manager who commutes from West Covina to his job in Ontario. As a plumbing supplier. They always talk about Trump, 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 get off Trump. I've been hearing this crap ever since he started running. This cat is on the ball. And this is the newer coalition. The younger coalition's had enough of this crap. They've been sold a bill of goods. We'll get to the vaccine and what they've done to their kids. What they've done to them is taken the economic opportunity away. With this vaccine, they're killing the kids or shortening their lifespans. Riverside and Purdue come from the heart of the Inland Empire. Next door neighbors are politically purple, more Republican than the state as a whole, but not as conservative as California, more rural reaches. 66-year-old independent has no use for politicians of any stripe. They're all crooks, he said, all of them. Well, that's pretty good. Lawson called 50 a waste of time and money. Gerrymandering, the dark drawing of that. And they successfully sold the lie. Newsom has successfully sold the lie. Backed by California teachers, backed by the nurses unions, backed by SEIU, the public employees unions. It's not George Soros. Well, that's part of it. Soros is only taking our money, laundering it through all these stuff that we found out. Through the government. I feel like it's going to eliminate my voice, said Fisher, 48, a food server at her daughter's school in Riverside. I'm 40% of the vote, roughly the percentage Trump receives statewide, yet they're screwing me. The working people have known their opportunity. They see their opportunity going away. They can't afford $5 and going to $8 to $10 a gallon gas. They can't afford $800,000 electric a month electric bills, $1,000 a month for groceries, and on and on and on. Amber Pellin, 46, who works at a nonprofit field in Corona, feels by sticking it to Trump, a tagline in one of the TV ads supporting Prop 50, voters will be sticking it to themselves. Passage would erase the political map drawn by the independent commission, which voters empowered in 2010. I don't care if you hate the person or don't hate the person, said Pellin, a Republican who backs the president. It's just going to hurt voters by taking power away from the people. Another one. Oh, Carol, the Democrat. Oh, I'm glad it's temporary because I don't think redistricting should be that. So Felice Selvenic, a 471-year retired school teacher, agreed. She was shopping at Trader Joe's. She described as a stop the Gap member, but no kings and all this, and Trump is mean. They can justify anything they want because it suits what I want to believe. They believe lying Gavin Newsom, 1,432%. They don't care. He says, I never use Latinx, and we got a whole, maybe we'll get into tomorrow. I never said Latinx. My kid wanted to come see Charlie Kirk. Oh, well, when he got shot, well, he really didn't like Charlie Kirk. He just wanted to know. He made an effort to find a phone to call his dad about Charlie Kirk. And the list goes on. But if it suits whatever I want, that's why Mendami's gaining popularity, Nora O'Donnell, because that's who he's speaking to. He says, chicken in every pot. I'm going to fix all. I'll give you all. I'll be your voice. Yada, yada, yada. While I'm selling you Mexico, where I'm going to run the cartel, you are going to be the slave. And I'm going to feed it. I'm going to stuff it down your throat like Newsom's done it in California, like Como did it in New York, like Hochul's doing it. And you will like it. That's where we're at in the deal. We're in a 50-50 battle right now for the heart and soul of the livelihood we had. And I don't know what the hell happened to those born in the 50s, but they are turning communistic up the kazoo in rates we've never seen before. We've never seen a generation get center left liberal as they got older, but those born in the 50s, 65 to 75, are doing it today. I'm glad I just missed that by a hair. But it's definitely going to be one of that. But this just shows the contrast. This shows the age difference. This shows the difference between the old and the young and their opportunities, and the young see their opportunities slipping away. The old are just hoping, oh, don't take away my Social Security, I will starve. It's all, well, and it comes down to you do what's best for your own self-interest. That's how these things work. And it's going to be more than interesting to see how the vote goes. If we can convince more, if we can get yes on 50 and go out there and vote no, I'm not saying we're done. If we do the Hail Mary pass and we come out today and tomorrow in force on no, the turnout is so low. There's only 27% turnout as of today. And again, tomorrow, 8 o'clock. If you haven't registered to vote, you can still get in there. Tomorrow, if you're not registered, if you go to a polling and voting center, you can register tomorrow. So there is no excuse. Get out there and vote no, 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 triple no on 50. Our, our livelihood depends on it. Stick it to Newsom. That should be the new theme of the day. By far. But we shall see. Hopefully, we'll be joining the Mighty Met KMET here in a few seconds, and hopefully, Dr. Kelly will be calling in. And we will have one whale of a time. Oh, geez.
Got 30 seconds, Roy.
I can hear you. As Sean said, we'll be joining the Mighty Met KMET here in a few seconds.
It's like Dr. Kelly's calling in here too.
Good.
Good evening, Dr. Kelly. Hang on, we're just starting right now. Here we go.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, here we go, Roy.
.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that update fly guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band. Join our vast video audience and eBuppy Network, Rumble, X, YouTube. Check us out on that. Subscribe, do all that good stuff. Vote no. Get all your friends to vote no. If we can still pull this off. We got till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. We get our people out. There's only 27% that have turned in ballots, and they've been heavily Democratic and heavily in San Francisco. So if we get our vote out, well, in the next 26 and a half hours, there's a chance we could still defeat it, but we need to knock that down on that. We went through Newsom's lying and all that stuff of that, but one thing that has, and I believe Dr. Kelly brought it up, there was a documentary film and a study Del Bigtree did or had done. It's called The Inconvenience. He's got a documentary out now called The Inconvenient Study. It's about the vaccines and the damage they potentially did to kids. Now, he got a renowned dude from the Henry Ford Hospital, very famous. Even Peter McCullough worked there at a time. All the Ford workers go there. That's their health plan. A very highly vaxxed guy. He said, we want to get you, because you're a pro-vax guy, we want you to do a study and disprove everything we're saying, but you got to publish it. They got the study done. He put it together. He would not release it. Thank goodness for Senator Ron Johnson, who through the rules of the Senate got it released. I just finally watched the whole documentary. And I've seen a lot of crap in the parts of 7 decades I've been in this on this earth. I don't know of anything that's more sinister of what's going on with this vax deal. We are basically either killing or shortening the lives or mentally damaging our kids, is basically what this study showed. And he said, I'm not a good person and all that. Government, we'll play a couple clips here later on. They're unbelievable. They're unfrickin' believable that we could get to a point of doing this. And he sat there and said, no, I'm not going to do it because it actually proved practically everything guys like McCullough, Victory, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Dale Bigtree, all these people, and the list goes on, have been saying, hey, something ain't right here. Let's figure it out. And here, no, big pharma and all these big hospitals and research and medical people are on saying, no, we've done all this. They didn't do any back-to-back testing per se or double-blind studies or nothing. They just shoved this stuff out because they're making trillions of dollars. As I've said, the supreme physician in all the world, expert on COVID-19 and everything else, Dr. Kelly Victory. I don't know how it hit you, but watching that's probably hit me as hard as anything has.
Yeah, the reality is, let's talk about this study, Roy, because it's really a big deal. We've been looking at the vaccine injuries from COVID, but the issues around the vaccine schedule long predated COVID. And what Del Bigtree set out to do here was to look at to some of the smaller studies that had been done by independent researchers where they compared groups of completely unvaccinated children and compared them to kids who had all or some vaccines. And what small researchers found over and over again was that children who were completely unvaccinated, had never received a single one, were far healthier overall than kids who'd gotten vaccinated. And we're not just talking about autism and autism spectrum disorder. It was everything: asthma, ear infections, eczema, psoriasis, peanut allergy, ADHD, on and on and on. And Del Bigtree identified one of the problems, which is that no one's going to believe these smaller studies because they just don't have the bandwidth. They aren't substantial enough. So he went to Henry Ford Medical Center, one of the preeminent research facilities in the United States. And he got a researcher there to agree to do a huge study. And Henry Ford Medical Center is a lot like Kaiser. They not only are the provider of healthcare services, they're also the insurer. So they have access to not only the care records, but the claims records. So it really makes it very possible for them to look at all of the data. And this guy did a big study, and he compared completely unvaccinated kids in the Henry Ford system to those who had received some or all of the childhood vaccines. And once again, what he found was overwhelming. Sometimes not just, twice as many cases of, but 5 and 6 times as many incidences or cases of ear infections or asthma, as I said, peanut allergies, psoriasis, eczema, those sorts of things. And what happened, of course, was once those findings were there and they weren't able to prove that vaccination actually was helpful, what did the guy do? What did the researcher say? I won't publish it. And Del Bigtree went undercover with a hidden camera, a hidden microphone, to talk to this guy at dinner and said, come on, it's important for the world to see this. And this researcher fundamentally, he said it out exactly. He said, look, I'm not a good person. I'm not willing to lose my job. I'm not willing to lose my career. I don't want to be like Dr. Peter McCullough, meaning to get attacked from all sides. And therefore, they were absolutely unwilling. he was unwilling to publish the paper. So were it not for Del Bigtree actually coming out and making this documentary, an inconvenient study, no one would have ever heard of this. But the reality is, once again, and this time on a large scale, from a well-respected major medical institution, we have a study that shows that the unvaccinated are far healthier overall than the vaccinated.
Here's a Fogel. She's a Harvard teacher, yada, yada, yada. And another one that's been on that, she's in the documentary, Dale Bigtree interviewed her. This is what she had to say. We thought, here we go.
Because if this is true, we are systematically making kids sick, and not just a little bit sick, very sick.
Publishing something like that, I might as well retire. I'd be finished.
I mean, I'm just curious. What in this data makes you think it will be as catastrophic to your career as you think?
What was he so afraid of? The study was a bombshell.
18,468 subjects, 1,957 of them were fully unvaccinated. When comparing the health outcomes of the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated, they found an increased risk in the vaccinated of several chronic health conditions. The vaccinated subjects were over 4 times more likely to have an asthma diagnosis.
4.29 times in the adjusted. And that seems, I've looked at a lot of studies, that's 3.26 to 5.65.
They also found 3 times the risk for atopic diseases,
which is kind of a subset of allergic diseases.
They found almost 6 times risk for autoimmune disease.
The autoimmune diseases this paper looked at include thrombocytopenic purpura, rheumatoid arthritis, SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus, MS, multiple sclerosis, and Guillain-Barré syndrome. They mentioned there are over 80 different autoimmune diseases, and what their data showed for autoimmunity, 6 times increase in those who got vaccines when compared to the unvaccinated.
Which is staggering, because autoimmune disorders really represent significant morbidity and health costs and suffering, accrued over a lifetime.
Neurodevelopmental disorders.
What kind of numbers are we talking about? Do you remember?
5.5 times risk for neuro.
If that doesn't make your head spin, that short clip right there was Zavos, Fogel, and that other guy. To me, am I wrong? They're basically said we are killing or mentally harming kids with this stuff, Dr. Kelly.
There's no question, and this is for me, it has been an existential crisis because despite the fact that I identified from day one the fraud of the entire pandemic, COVID pandemic, and the devastating harms that would be done by those vaccines. Prior to COVID, Roy, I was considered by many to be a vaccine zealot. I spoke and wrote prolifically about the importance of vaccination programs. I believed everything that I had been taught in medical school, which it turns out was a big fat lie, that vaccines were really the greatest thing that ever came down the pike from public health, that it was the polio vaccine that was responsible for really eliminating the scourge of polio, and likewise with the measles. And that simply isn't true. Those were lies. The reality is that severe illness and deaths from polio had all but vanished prior to the polio vaccine ever even being rolled out. It was the result of better sanitation, clean water, better living conditions, and those sorts of things had nothing to do with the vaccine. We were lied to during our medical training. And so now, fast forward, it is clear, study after study after study, and now this large one, published or not, by Henry Ford, shows that we are in fact harming children by the current vaccine schedule. There's no question that we have seen a tremendous increase in illnesses across the board. Certainly autism is amongst them, but it is all of these other autoimmune illnesses. When I was growing up, I didn't know a child with a peanut allergy. I didn't know a kid with asthma when I was growing up. Now, every other child, has asthma or reactive airway disease, psoriasis, eczema, ADHD, autism, some version of an autoimmune problem. And there's no question that the single common factor here is the number of and the frequency of and the timing of childhood vaccines. Now, to be clear, to dovetail into this, Dr. Peter McCullough just published a really great landmark study reviewing 300 peer-reviewed studies to look at what is the cause of autism. And autism is a multifactorial disease, meaning there is not one single causative agent. That said, what this review done by Dr. McCullough, reviewing more than 300 papers, comes to the conclusion that the single thing that is modifiable, that is clearly associated with the onset and cause of autism is, once again, the childhood vaccines, which is not to say that Tylenol and other environmental factors and maternal factors and don't play a role, and genetics probably plays some role, but the single modifiable factor that was found to be associated with the development of autism was the childhood vaccines.
This next clip, I think, will show it that, and this is what I got from it, is we are basically doing more harm with the vaccine than if we just did nothing. And I'm not necessarily saying that we should, nobody should get any vaccines, but with the 87 million of them that they're trying to shove on kids or putting into them now, it's cutting their life expectancy shorter. It's causing all these mental diseases and everything else that's in there at a far more greater clip than would be before. Here we go.
That should shock everyone.
Let's remember, the entire conversation of the moment in America is the fact that 54% of our children are chronically ill. And here we are looking at the study, and it's almost exactly those numbers. 57% of the vaccinated are chronically ill, whereas only 17% of the unvaccinated.
I think because I have an interest in vaccines and I understand off-target, non-specific effects, I was sad, but I wasn't surprised.
I can tell you that these data are consistent with my greatest concerns regarding the childhood vaccination schedule. That despite the good intentions of the field of vaccinology, that is backfiring on us.
That last one you heard was Dr. Peter McCullough. He said it's backfiring on us. Like Roundtree or Big Tree said, that here you are. I mean, 4 times more, 5 times more likely to suffer chronic diseases, death with the vaccines versus not. This is where you're trying to make the perfect in the way of the greater good. This is insane, Dr. Kelly.
It is, Roy, and here's, you try to get your arms around this fun fact. This drives it home, I think, for a lot of people. There isn't a single vaccine out there, not one vaccine on the market, for which the risk of dying from the vaccine itself doesn't exceed the risk of dying from the disease. Think about that. You are at greater risk from dying from any one of the vaccines than you are from dying from the disease it's supposed to prevent. Okay? So let that sink in. Everything in medicine boils down to a risk-benefit calculation. You've got to weigh the risks of the actual disease, in this case, against the risks and benefits of the vaccine itself. And if the vaccine has a greater risk of death, not just a bad outcome, death, than the risk of death from the actual disease, you know what? I'll take my chances. I'll double down on the things that I know will improve my overall immune health. I'll make sure my vitamin D levels are good. I'll double down on exercise and getting adequate sleep and good nutrition and stress mitigation and all of the things that we know will enhance your immune function rather than risking taking a vaccine. And we got away with it maybe when we were kids. You and I probably only got somewhere in the range of 6 to 8 vaccines between the time we were born and the time we turned 18 years old. 6 to 8. That number now, if a parent follows the recommended vaccine schedule, if you have a baby born today, between the day that child is born and age 18, that child will get 84 vaccines. 84! I mean, I'm here to tell you as a physician, the human immune system was not intended to be flogged over and over and over again with an immune challenge, let alone the fact that the adjuvants, the things that are added to the vaccines to keep them stable or to enhance their efficacy, things, that what was trace amounts of mercury, aluminum, it's not trace amounts anymore when you're getting 84 of them. Now you're getting a big amount of these, toxic heavy metals. It's terrifying.
Last one. I think this sums it up. This is Fogel again. Here we go.
Neuropsychiatric illness and their lives and their families' lives are hell. And I know so many parents who suffer all kinds of guilt. The parents who've had adverse reactions or who've witnessed neurodevelopmental regression in connection with vaccination, they are devastated. I've had so many mothers say to me, my child is like this because of me, at my hand. I did this to them.
I think we are absolutely destroying our future by destroying the overall health of our most precious asset, our children.
I don't know how, I really don't know how the evil that has been precipitated on not only people across the world with this stuff. I really don't, I can't even wrap my head around it, Dr. Kelly.
No, I agree. And I think that, unfortunately, parents have been in a tough situation where they have been listening to their pediatricians. And let's face it, look, the American Academy of Pediatrics is complicit in this. The CDC now is on the record saying that they do not any longer recommend that healthy children or that people under the age of 60 get a COVID shot. Yet you've got the American Academy of Pediatrics doubling down and saying, oh no, get your kid vaccinated, get the booster. Same thing with the American Academy of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Continuing to recommend and push COVID vaccines on pregnant women when the CDC and others have come out and said, not really a great idea any longer. So parents are in a tough position. I will tell you, there is a position paper out there now called Safer to Wait. And what I recommend to parents is, look, I'm not going to tell you not to vaccinate your kids. That's a very personal decision. What I will tell you is to look at the data on completely unvaccinated children and how healthy they are, and at a minimum, push to wait, delay. The longer you can delay the first vaccines and the more you can spread them out, the better. The idea of giving a newborn baby, day one of life, a hepatitis B vaccine, it's not just unwarranted, it's downright evil. There isn't a shred of a rationale on doing that, and it's absolutely evil. And the idea that we continue to vaccinate, at 3 or 4 months, and then 6 months and 12 months, with shot after shot, some of these babies getting 6 and 8 vaccines at one doctor's visit. It's absolutely unconscionable. It's clearly doing harm, and we unfortunately are seeing the results in the health of our children right now.
Got about a minute left. Anything else our audience should know?
You may be aware that Dr. Casey Means, the current nominee for Surgeon General, was scheduled last week on Thursday for her first Senate hearing for her confirmation as Surgeon General. And the hearing was delayed because on Wednesday night she purportedly went into labor. She's pregnant or was pregnant. We haven't heard a word about whether or not she delivered a baby. She has been absolutely radio silent since May of this year when she was named as the nominee for Surgeon General. She did not make the first Senate confirmation hearing because of her labor, and we've heard not a word. So keep attuned. We'll see what happens, whether or not she ever comes back up on the radar and makes it to a Senate confirmation hearing. But at this point, she remains the nominee for the U.S. Surgeon General.
Thanks for being on, Dr. Kelly. We'll do this again soon.
Thanks. Talk soon.
You got it, Dr. Kelly Victory, saying it only as she can. Man, it's like, holy freaking cow. How in the world did we even get to this point? It's really something else. We'll hit some of the local genre, of course. We got till, 26 hours to get those no on 50 votes to F Newscomb on that. We'll see what happens. You never know. The Hail Mary pass hits. Look, Kyle Larson won the NASCAR championship last night. After having a flat tire, looked clear out of it. Denny Hamlin's running it. They throw a caution. He takes 2 tires. Hamlin 4. He wins the championship. I mean, that's so, it can't happen. Man accused of murdering his brother in Yucaipa. DUI charges dropped on the deadly I-10 crash in Ontario. So there was the toxicology report on saying in that deadly crash there in Ontario on where he ran into all the cars, it did not prove that he had any untoward substances in his body. Michigan Frozen Burrito King Dwayne Roberts passes at 88. He was a big figure in Riverside in the IE, even though he turned coat and moved to Laguna Niguel in Palm Beach, Florida, but that's a story for a different day. Deputy injured in a pursuit on Ramona Expressway by Lake Paris Drive, right there at the entrance of the fairgrounds. You see the deputy's cruiser there with the extensive front end damage. No report on the deputy or anyone else on that. He hit a Honda, so who knows? Cops looking for info on a brawl in Murrieta. So if you've seen it, let them know. Jay Carl was supposed to be sentenced today. It was supposed to be in the morning. Then they delayed it to the afternoon. I haven't been able to check and see if that's actually happened or not. We'll report on that tomorrow. Big theft bust in Purdue. Look at the picture if you're looking at it on the video. Good job, San Bernardino cops. Finally. Again, no on 50, fly SWAT, that cockroach, Gavin Newscomb. Bus car window get booked in Hoover Valley. Look like they were trying to steal that. Parolee arrested for sex acts with a child in Riverside. And that, that's going to have to do it for today. What a day it's been. Take it away, Sean.
All right, Roy, we will talk to you tomorrow.
You got it.